but they say if you are the best, no one expects you to be the cheapest.
Yeah.
If you're the cheapest, no one expects you to be the best.
There's no substitute for confidence. Confidence and belief in yourself and your product is contagious. We're quite scared almost, or respectful, overly respectful of customers. What are you in business for? Are you in business to make a profit, or are you in business to just service someone at your own expense? If you as a leader can find ways to develop the culture, to develop a way of working that can
All right, welcome to another edition of Mindset Profits. We are going mobile, and someone was laughing at me because I have nice life problems. We are in a workshop with Vitola and SAP, and today I get to hang out with a good friend, coach, trainer, entrepreneur, Anton, and he went to Norway, picked up a couple of lessons along the way, and I thought, I have the equipment, we've got the space, we could sit, shoot, and see what we have learned from other cultures, but generally as well. Lessons that we've picked up as coaches that people struggle with in business. So, Anton, welcome again.
Thanks. It's lovely to be back. I think I was probably on the podcast right at the beginning, eh?
Right at the beginning.
When you had a handful of subscribers and now you're pushing for 50,000, eh?
The goal is 50K.
Yeah, it's going to happen soon.
Yeah, we're projecting by the end of the month.
It's fantastic.
Fingers crossed. So do the right thing if you're not subscribed.
Please subscribe. I agree.
Man, welcome. How have you been?
Yeah, I've been good. Yeah, like you said, I've just had a nice 10-day holiday in Norway.
Yeah.
So it was my third time there, but it was my first time for holiday. The other two times were for work. It was many years ago when I had my export business. So I think the last time I was there was about 17 years ago, and it hasn't changed much.
Okay.
But just to, I suppose, what stood out for me this time around was the technological advances and how that culture manages to blend a lot of history. So you've got buildings from, almost the Viking era and really old, beautiful, preserved buildings. And then there's incredible technology and cutting edge first world transport systems and stuff. And they coexist so well together.
Or how are they making life easy for tourists? Though I imagine that got to benefit you guys as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think what also jumped out for me was the public transport, and it hit home how important a good public transport system is to an economy. There, when you arrive, you download an app.
Yeah.
And that app gives you access to all the trains, buses, and trams. So you can go anywhere in Oslo, you can go anywhere into the countryside, and you literally book it on the app. It tells you which train or bus or tram you need, where to find them, what times they run, and you buy your ticket there and then, and you just get on. It's seamless, and it's a process that's not reliant on human intervention. They do have some ticket offices you can go and purchase a ticket, but I'd say 90% of people just use the app.
Even the payment is on the app.
The payment's on the app. You get on there's an honesty system there, which would probably be difficult to implement here. Every now and again, they'll have a conductor come around and ask to see your ticket on the app. But I think that happened to me once in 10 days. Most of the time, you can either scan your ticket when you get onto the bus or the train. You just scan it, or you just get on. And it's seamless.
That's cool, because I was talking to KK and he mentioned something about differences he's seen with our society in South Africa and other societies, that we are a low trust society and business is easier in some economies because they are high trust society. They trust each other a whole lot more than we trust each other.
That's actually a really interesting point, and I think there's certainly the trust for both locals and tourists that they would have purchased a ticket where they probably check 5% of the time and 95%. So you can get on a train or a bus and take a chance. In fact, I had to do it once because I dropped my phone
Yeah.
into the Oslo fjord, and that's another story. I was fishing and I took a picture and the phone fell, and anyway, I managed to retrieve the phone, but it stopped working. So I couldn't buy a bus ticket. So
Yeah.
I had to get onto a bus and get back to my hotel, hoping that they wouldn't check me. And luckily they didn't. And I felt a bit guilty, but I had no other way of getting home. And then, so it is certainly a high
The phone was
trust.
off. There was no one you could call.
No, I couldn't call anyone. I couldn't pay. I was, and was actually also brought home how dependent we are
The phone.
on our phone and on technology these days to function. You
Cool,
know,
man.
without a phone, I was unable to communicate. I was unable to pay for things. I couldn't access the app. I couldn't call my girlfriend and say, help, I'm stuck. I was just stuck. And luckily, their trust society paid off for me, and I was able to get back to the hotel. And I dried out the phone, and it started working again, which I was really impressed with.
Wonderful. Hey, at least you're back. So let's pick up on some life lessons, personal development lessons that you landing on lately. I think in this journey when we're working with entrepreneurs, what stands out for me at least is half the time it's not business strategy that makes the biggest difference, but it's someone growing in confidence, someone growing in self-awareness, self-efficacy that does a whole lot more of they figure the tactics out than a whole lot of lectures on how this is what you should be doing.
There's no substitute for confidence. And there's obviously a fine line between confidence and arrogance, and one always needs to be careful not to cross that line. But I think confidence and belief in yourself and your product is contagious. I think a lot of people, particularly in this country, we as entrepreneurs, we we're quite scared almost, or respectful, overly respectful of customers. When I say that, what I mean, so particularly the big guys,
Yeah.
we feel like they're doing us a favor by giving us a sale. And the reality, as I mentioned in the workshop today, is that there's always a mutual exchange of value. It's never a one-way street. No one's doing you a service or a favor by giving you an order. They're getting something in return. They're getting your product or your service, and in exchange, they're giving you money. And that's how the world works.
So entrepreneurs most times find themselves in positions where they can be bullied because they believe you're doing me a favor by giving me the job.
Exactly that.
Person on the other end believes I'm doing you a favor by giving you this job. Listen to what I have to say. Here are the terms.
Yes, because the energy that one gives off is to that effect. It's to say, you know, thank you, I'm so grateful, cap in hand, please may I be your supplier. Whereas actually the reality is that businesses need suppliers to perform their functions. They need entrepreneurs providing them goods and services in order to be effective. And I think that when we can put that down and recognize that I have something of value to offer, and I have something that I believe in, and that's kind of contagious, and that comes across, the whole energy dynamic shifts.
Yeah, that goes as far as pricing as well. I imagine that's one of the main reasons why people struggle to increase their prices. There's the fear of losing customers, but at a deeper level, there's also the low confidence that I have in my ability to sell it at that higher price.
You know, yes, absolutely. And I suppose if we took it a step further, even things like just allowing yourself to be dictated to in terms of the terms and conditions under which you will supply a company. It it should be the other way around. If you're the supplier and you're engaging with a customer, it should be, these are my terms and conditions. These are my payment terms. This is what's included in the price. This is what's not included. This is my turnaround time and my lead times. This is the delivery structure and schedule. And yet we go in and we allow, particularly the big guys, the corporates and the big retailers and stuff, to tell us exactly how they will engage in business with us. And we feel like we're not empowered to ask questions or push back or say, Can we look at 30 days instead of 60 days? Or, actually, my lead time is 3 weeks, not 1 week. Or I don't deliver on a Sunday. We're too scared to actually, I wouldn't say push back, but just to set our own terms and conditions as a starting point for a negotiation.
Isn't isn't competition part of that equation though? I'm trying to see someone will say, I get it, I might be the confident one in the room, but there's 20 other people looking for the same job and they're not going to negotiate. And that guy will choose them because these guys will charge the lowest price. I see that picture a lot of the times when it's government jobs.
Mm.
They like looking at the lowest bidder.
Mm-hmm.
They just take that, especially for the smaller jobs. I know for the bigger jobs it's a bit different, but the competition and us getting caught up in a race to the bottom where we're competing on dropping our prices each time. You find jobs that used to go for 20,000 5 years ago. To win it now, you have to be bidding 13,000. Inflation has happened, all the costs of it, but I see a picture where we are doing this to each other as well.
Yeah. No, you're right. I suppose my response to that would be, do you want clients who will drop you because someone comes in 1,000 rand lower than your price? Because what kind of longevity can you build with a client like that? What kind of a relationship can you develop with somebody like that? You can't. No matter how good you are, they're not going to value that. They're always going to go to the bottom, like you say, and look at price. And the truth is, if you raise your price and lose certain customers as a result, they were probably never the right customers for you in the first place.
Mm.
I'm always hesitant to encourage people to engage with government for that reason, because it is about the price. And when you're only competing on price, you have, what if the person you're competing with is willing to go lower than you? your only your only strategy to counteract that is to
Go
cut your
lower.
price again.
Yeah.
And what are you in business for? Are you in business to make a profit, or are you in business to just service someone at your own expense? So my advice in that situation, and I'm not saying it's not a thing, is maybe look at your customer base and see if there's other areas that you can compete on. Can you actually focus on your reliability, what you do well? Maybe it's about your compliance status that you can work on, your accreditations, your CIDB levels, those kind of things that can allow you to
Charge a
get out
premium.
of the kind of mosh pit of having to compete on price, because it's a zero sum game. There's no winners in that. I would always rather someone says I'm the best than says I'm the cheapest in almost every instance, unless your customer base or your target is the lowest of low LSMs, and they really are kind of, it's all about price. Then of course you try and deliver the cheapest. But in a situation where that isn't the case, competing on price is going to ultimately not be to your benefit.
I like that. I'm remembering a quote by someone, I've forgotten who it was, but they say if you are the best, no one expects you to be the cheapest.
Yeah.
If you're the cheapest, no one expects you to be the best.
There's certain things that I always advise people never take the cheapest quote. Things like construction and medical. There you always got to be a bit wary when you're getting the cheapest quotes.
That's cool. I thought of that while you were speaking to say, actually, sometimes we don't introspect and check if we're doing what we need to be doing for people to trust us enough at the higher price. The branding is not improving, the packaging is not
Correct.
improving. So when a customer sees what you're selling and what someone else is selling, you're all the same. So all the only differentiator to them becomes who's the cheapest.
Exactly that. How much have you invested in your branding and your marketing and your brand positioning and your customer service and how you make people feel when they engage with you so that they go and tell others? That's where people should be focusing on rather than price. And I think another thing, when price does become a thing, So when someone says to you, perhaps I want to work with you, but the only thing that's preventing me is that you're a bit too expensive, you then have it. You are within your power is you can re-engineer the product or service to come into price, and I think we don't do that enough. So if the customer says, I really like what you do, but you're 20% too high, you can perhaps relook at the offer and go, look, if it's a product, if I substitute those materials, or if I amend it slightly, or I
Or
use a
reduce the
slightly
size.
different quality or adjust the sizing, then I can come into price. Would that work? Or you can say, if it's a service, we'll work on a Monday to Friday scenario, but we're not including transport. You figure out a way to what we call product engineering or re-engineering to come into price so that you match the needs and the budget without sacrificing your margin too much.
How do you help Anton clients now, for example, who will be saying business has been good for a while, but I just got into a season where things are dropping. Sales are dropping 20%, 30%. I'm scared I'm losing part of the team. Like it's tanking. Where's the starting point? I imagine there will be someone out there. I know there will be someone out there who's going through that.
Yeah,
Feel like
absolutely.
you're losing your business. It used to be good. Everything was working. It's falling apart and you don't even know what's the problem.
So I had a situation like that recently with a client. It's actually a mechanic, and owns a fitment center. And he lost two big clients. So they were sort of like fleet clients that would send a lot of work to him. And he didn't lose it through anything that he did wrong. It was purely that their business strategy changed. The one branch closed down and the other branch relocated, and there were other sort of mechanics and fitment centers closer to them. So it made more sense.
Yeah.
So his turnover literally dropped about
My
60% from
word.
month to month, and he's got to keep his doors open. He's got rent, he's got staff. And he's not actually a client, he's more a friend. So I've been advising him on a pro bono basis. But my
Yeah.
suggestion to him was stick with what you've done well and what's worked in the past. So what are his assets that he has? He's got accreditation, he's authorized with the insurance companies, he's not a fly by night, he's been in business for a long time. He's proven success at that level in terms of capacity dealing with fleets. So I said to him, approach those two fleet companies that you lost and ask if they would refer you to other branches of theirs closer to your area that might then be willing to give you a chance. And they did that. And he's now got some meetings set up, in fact, for next week. And it's about sort of understanding what's worked for you in the past and where your successes come from, and not moving too far away from that. Because I think when that situation that you described
Yeah.
happens, people panic. And then they kind of think, the strategy is no longer, everything's wrong, we've got to start again. Whereas often it's just circumstance. There's nothing wrong with your strategy, there's nothing wrong with your offering. Sometimes you need to fine tune it or tweak it or adapt and change with the times. But quite often it's about sticking to what worked for you in the past and where you got success in the past and leveraging that. I think people also get a bit complacent. They get reliant on one or two big clients,
Yeah.
and they don't do enough work to kind of build up almost like a war chest around other clients, as well as we have a tendency to constantly look for new customers all the time rather than figure out how we can grow our business with our existing customers. And studies show that it's something like 7 or 6 times more expensive to onboard a new customer than it is to potentially grow business with
With
your
the
existing
existing
ones.
customers.
Yeah.
I see two things there. I think one is your friend getting him to take the initiative and approach the potential clients after showing him that you've got this, you've done this before,
Yeah.
and you've got the assets, you've got the experience. Because often, what happens when you go through a season like that, you start to question yourself,
Yeah, of course.
you start to question your competence. And it surprises, as an entrepreneur, you start to believe you're not good enough.
Now, that's true. I think confidence plays a big role. I also, in that case, it was about just taking a moment to pause and reflect and actually look at what you've achieved. So, if I look at this guy as a case, he built the business himself. He's been in business for a number of years, started with nothing. He's now got a fully equipped fitment center with all the necessary machinery and diagnostics. He works on high end vehicles. He has a high level of trust with his customers. He has a lot of repeat customers, even though they're the smaller ones, like private customers that come back and back again and again. So there were a lot of things that were positive. He lost two big clients through circumstance and panicked.
Yeah.
And it was really just about grounding him, reconnect with your vision, know that you've got this, your strategy is not wrong. You just need to maybe invest a little bit more time in customer retention, customer relationship, and selling.
I like that. I talked to someone as well who was in a similar situation, and it was exactly what you described, even in the intervention. Because the question I was asking him was 7 years ago when you started this business, what did you have? He said, I didn't have much, but look at what you have now. Because he lost, the business had dropped from about 8 million to just over a million. So you can
Wow.
imagine the
Yeah,
level
that's
of
a lot.
panic. And it was the same thing. Two main clients, COVID happens, they pull out because COVID happened to them, not because his business was faulty in any way. So it was circumstance. So he was panicking. And it was getting down to showing him where he started. And actually, I asked him, what was the energy you had when you're working on your business during that season, when you didn't have the money, the contacts, all of that. And he started to remember how far he would go to chase down a customer, some of the things that he would do back then that were working and he wasn't doing. And he started to see even more that I have all this traction, there is the social proof, but I'm not capturing anything. There are many clients that have given me compliments. I never captured it. And now, if
Yeah.
I'm coming back to the market, I'm
Yes.
saying I've been doing this for 7 years, but where's the proof? I haven't been capturing anything. The complacency that you're talking about.
Having that sort of those big anchor clients can be a blessing and a curse for that exact reason, because you do get comfortable. You like, they're taking 70% of my capacity anyway. I only have a small little bit of space left for anyone else. So, and it's going to happen. I'm going to have them forever until you don't.
Yeah, so that's the two things. Remember how far you've come. And I think this is a warning to someone who is not in that position yet. But the position they're in is a very risky one where you've got two main clients, three main clients accounting for 60, 70% of your
Yeah.
revenue. It was painful when I was listening to an entrepreneur who had just over a 20 million business saying, I'm shutting it down because I lost three clients and they were the main account for that 20 million.
Yeah, I mean that is, look, it's always a tricky one because you don't want there's advantages to having less clients giving you more work as well.
There
You
is a
know,
big advantage.
yeah, if you have two or three anchor clients, you get to know their systems, you kind of build your business model around satisfying them. There's a lot of streamlined processes, there's efficiencies, as opposed to having 20 different clients with different systems, different procurement processes, and all of that. So it's a bit of a double edged sword. I think a healthy balance is a good ratio between sort of the smaller guys who are the bread and butter. They order a little bit, but they order consistently, and the bigger guys that you service, if you can get that right. And I also think that any entrepreneur, you need to build a war chest up
Yeah.
for that eventuality where you might lose a big client and it might take you 3 or 4 months to replace that hole, or maybe even a bit longer. And the way one would do that is just be disciplined around putting 5 to 10% of every invoice that you generate into an interest-bearing account that ideally you don't touch, but it's there when you need it. And if things do happen, COVID, unforeseen, you lose a big client, they change their strategy, whatever, at least you've got 3, 4, 5 months of runway that gives you a bit of breathing room. You don't panic. You don't make impulsive decisions. You don't go to loan shark or something, you get yourself into trouble. It just buys you a bit of time.
You taught me this years back. I never used to emphasize building a reserve to entrepreneurs until you were doing the workshop on it. Picked it up, talked to an entrepreneur, one of the guys that I was mentoring, picked it up, did really well. I think he was doing the 5% of every sales invoice that gets paid. And every now and then, when he's got lump sums, he would put more of the money in. And COVID happened. When COVID happened, he had over 600K in that reserve. When COVID stopped and it was time to get back, I talked to him and said, now we have a marketing war chest here. You can outmarket the competition. At a time
Beautiful.
when everyone else is struggling,
Yes.
you've got your reserve, you've got your war chest now. Man, he grew his business really, really well. He did amazing after COVID.
You know, I think that the thing that we don't appreciate is that you don't miss that 5% or 10% when
Yeah.
you take it off an invoice. You don't really miss it if you're disciplined, and even if you set up an auto deduct.
It was auto
That
with
it-
him. He
that
set it up with the bank.
Yeah, that it automatically deducts and puts the money into another account. It's you don't miss it,
It's magic.
but it's amazing how quickly it builds up.
It does. So all my mentees, I encourage it.
Good. I'm glad that I taught you something, because you've taught me a lot as well.
All right. So I think if we're looking at people who are in panic, do you ever face clients and have to coach them on a personal level outside of talking about the business? Because with the friend, I guess you were looking at the assets, the resources, and how they could leverage those. But on a personal level, because someone could be struggling at that level.
I'm finding that I'm doing more and more of that nowadays. I've sort of just organically, in terms of my career, I've moved more away perhaps from pure mentorship, where you kind of guiding and advising on a business level and sort of giving your opinion, to more of the coaching side, where you're helping people understand themselves better, their blockages, and what it is that they perhaps are contributing towards their situations.
Yeah.
So I'm finding, and I think, because I did study psychology and so on, so I haven't always had an interest in personal development and in the individual. I've never approached any mentoring role going straight into the business model and straight into the nuts and bolts. I always try and understand the individual first. What makes this person tick? What inspires them? What scares them? What are their limiting beliefs? Where are they confident? What can we leverage? Because once you have that, you've got a lot of powerful stuff to work with. And helping people understand themselves, and understand what inspires and motivates them, will always have a positive effect on their careers and their businesses. The two are so linked. I'm sure you've seen this, that often when a business that's done well historically starts to fail,
Yeah.
there's a personal
Reason
behind it. There's a divorce, or there's a depression, or there's something that the driver, the jockey of that business
Yeah.
has hit a personal roadblock of some kind. And you'll see it in the performance of the business.
It's clear. I think one thing that I say, I never used to say it, but the first time I said it to entrepreneurs, it made so much sense. Now I always say it. Said your state matters in as far as the performance of your business. And the clearest example is, if we take you out of your business, put someone else, the performance of that business is going to change in a week, in a month. We have a different business. Same customers, same product, same team. We just change the leader.
Yeah,
We put someone else, the business can tank in a month.
that is true. And it's always a tricky one, because you don't want the business to be so reliant on the leader for its success that it ceases to function without
Which is
them,
true, yeah.
which often happens. And all the systems exist in one person's head, and the system is dependent on an individual instead of on a system to function. So it's a fine balance, but I do believe that if you as a leader can find ways to develop the culture to develop a way of working that can grow beyond you. And we've seen examples of that, the likes of Richard Branson, et cetera,
True.
many times. I think even at a small level, it is possible to achieve that. But certainly for a small business in its first, I'd say 5 to even 10 years of existence, the jockey, the person at the helm, the driver, the leadership team or person determines success to such a huge degree.
It does.
And you can't get around that.
I think as you grow, what I always encourage as well is what insulates the business from your weaknesses: systems, team, culture.
That's it.
It starts to protect the business from you.
Exactly that. I always say to people, how do you make yourself dispensable and redundant to leaders? How can you make yourself less important to your business? And they look at me like I'm crazy. What do you mean? I'm the most important person there. And I said, that's the problem. You need to find ways of bringing your magic, because you are the driver, you are the person who started it, you had the vision, but sort of dispensing your magic into others. And I've seen quite small and quite new businesses do that successfully as well, where they've managed to sort of create a culture where it doesn't matter which staff member you deal with, you get the same level of service, the same quality. Sometimes good, sometimes bad. Hopefully good. There's a coffee shop that I frequent in Cape Town a lot,
Yeah.
and the owner's always there, and he's a great chap, and he's a friend of mine and whatever. But it doesn't matter which staff member of his you engage with, you get the same incredible quality of service, incredible care. You feel like you're valued as a customer. You are always welcome. It doesn't matter if it's the cleaner, the chef, the baker, the serving staff, or the owner. There's that he's managed to create a culture that goes far beyond just him as an individual. And I think that's amazing.
It's amazing, and maybe not to be harsh on some entrepreneurs or for them not to be harsh on themselves. It's a journey to build that.
Of course,
Many,
this is
yeah,
maybe a 30-year-old business. So
yeah, it's a journey. Many quit on the process to build that because they try to instill it in the team, introduce it 2 3 months, you don't see a difference, and then you quit. You just say, I don't have the right people in the house.
And I think that's the reality, is that building a culture and a team culture, there's two important things. Number one, people take their cue from the top, always. So you can't expect your staff to be brilliant with customer service and be patient and all of those things if you're not like that, because they're going to draw their cue from you. And the second thing is, building a culture is not something you can do on an ad hoc basis. You can't have a quarterly team building or have
Annual
wear
sort of
wacky shoes to work on a Wednesday kind of thing, but then you're not consistent in that and you don't treat your staff well in between those events. It's not an ad hoc process. It's a consistent, deliberate, every single day showing up and treating people in a certain way and instilling a certain level of values and culture in them over and over again. That's how you win.
Do you think a part of the reason why people don't win in that process is expecting employees to be perfect and get it right immediately and not
Yes.
tolerating mistakes in the process of
And maybe
learning?
we actually had an interesting chat in the workshop today about people saying they were struggling to find the right sales staff and kind of thing. And then when we dug a bit deeper, it was that they'll bring them in and just say, right, there you go, or like, good luck. And it's almost like I default my sales process to you because I don't want to do it. I set you targets, and then I feel like it's kind of not my problem anymore, even though I'm the owner. And the reality is that you can't set people up for failure. If you're going to bring a new team member in, you've got to give them the infrastructure and the resources to succeed. And that's things like very clear job descriptions, making them understand what good looks like, the KPIs, what are their deliverables, giving them the support that they need to succeed. So it might be that they have access to transport to go and see clients. It might be that you hand over a list of warm leads that you've developed. You can't put people into a situation, whether it's sales or HR or any role in a business,
And set
without
them
giving
up to
them the
fail.
tools to succeed. Yeah,
Yeah, because you're setting them up to fail. I think that's a
absolutely.
nice way to put it. I think as we close off, man, what do you have to say to someone in the workshop who's going to watch this later?
So I think that it's a sales and marketing workshop. So I've done 2 days, and Tando's done 2 days with a group as well. I suppose it's really about building your brand, spending time and focus and energy on that. People, and I said to this to my group earlier, I said, it's very seldom that we engaged purely with products or services. We engage with the brand around that product or service. There's an assumption or an expectation from a product that it's going to do what it's supposed to do, whether
It's
it's
gonna
a
sell itself.
mouthwash or a soap or a electronic gadget or whatever. We expect it to do a certain amount of things. You're not going to win on the pure features and benefits of your product or service.
Yeah.
It's how you make people feel when they engage with you, how you make them feel as a customer, how you say, I see you and I recognize you. That's where you're going to win. And that's when we, as a small business starting out and trying to grow and find your place, that's how you differentiate yourself.
Beautiful. Thank you for the quick fire masterclass.
Anytime, my man.
I'll be coming through to Cape Town. We'll do another one.
Fantastic. It's always great to be here, and I love the show, and I'm so pleased to see it doing so well.
Thank you. Thank you for hanging with us till this time. See you in the next episode. Let me know in the comments if you would love him to answer more of your business type entrepreneurship questions. Hook us up. We'll create something for you. Thank you.